What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on First Take, I'm going to be talking about the San Francisco 49ers cornerback, Richard Sherman. So let's see what they have to say about him.
I think that Richard Sherman is great. When you take into account in the last decade alone, there's only two cornerbacks, 250 targets or more to receivers. There's only two quarterbacks that have allowed less than a 50% completion percentage against them. It was Darrelle Revis, formerly of the New York Jets, and went to Tampa for 1 year for inexplicable reasons. And of course, Richard Sherman. You don't get him over the top. You don't complete long passes, 20, 25, 30 yards against this cat. Underneath, he's only allowing about 8 yards per catch. This brother is elite, but
Yeah, so you definitely want to think twice before you go Richard Sherman's way.
Specifically resonates with me. As a black man, to see this man, as highly intelligent as he is, high character guy, graduate of Stanford, brilliant, a savant. Pete Carroll and others from the Legion of Boom. Even when we talked about the Legion of Boom, we used to talk about Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Bobby Wagner, and these boys. And you forgot that brother was taking off an entire complete side of the field because he was a lockdown corner. He is elite on the field. He is an elite mind. He is brilliant. He's a high character dude. And I personally believe that people have held stuff against him because of his mouth, because he had a lot of bravado back in the day, used to get at people. Don't get me started with what he said to Crabtree after they beat him in the NFC Championship game and all of that other stuff. I think people hold that against him, never taking the time to realize high character, elite performer, incredible role model, good dude, and a star and a champion. The man is...
Yeah, so Richard Sherman is a champion, and he's very outspoken because, he has reason to. He's a professional football player. He's good. He went to Stanford, graduated from Stanford, so the man is winning. No matter what you want to say, you say he's outspoken or he has a big mouth, whatever you want to call him, the man's winning. So let's continue.
Won a Super Bowl. They should have had two if Pete Carroll had given it to beast mode at the half-yard line instead of trying to throw the ball over the middle for Russell Wilson to somebody. Okay, Richard Sherman was on those teams, and now after suffering an ACL injury, if I remember, I think it was Achilles, I'm sorry, all right, and he comes back. Now all he's done is do what he was doing before he got injured. The brother's special, and he's right.
Yeah, so again, Richard Sherman's a baller. Like I said, he has a big mouth, but he backs it up. Like I said, he's a professional football player. He's a baller. He went to Stanford, graduated from Stanford. And so let's take a look at what Richard Sherman did this year. So he has 48 solo tackles this year. That's his second career best, as a matter of fact. He had 3 picks and did all that in 15 games. So, he was a major contributor factor for the game last week that they won because he had a huge pick that, you could arguably say changed the tide of the game. So, he just really, he's a sharp part of the defense for the San Francisco 49ers, and they just absolutely mauled the Minnesota Vikings last weekend. So they got like 6 sacks. Obviously, Sherman got an interception that changed the game, and I think they got 3 fumbles. So he's a very strong piece, a very well-needed piece of that San Francisco 49er defense that was most likely going to take them to the Super Bowl. We're going to see how things work out this weekend. But, so Richard Sherman is definitely a baller, and he's definitely winning, and he definitely backs up what he says. So let's continue.
I love Richard Sherman. I used to do a radio show with Marcellus Wiley, who, went from Compton to Columbia, and Richard Sherman went from Compton to Stanford and used to kill him. Like, he's better than you at football, and I think he got you with the schools, too, and I went to Columbia, right? Like, the thing about Richard Sherman, some of the negative reaction to him, insofar as there is, I think he feels that there's more negative reaction to him than there really is. But there's been the black athlete in this country, if you're African-American and it's hard for people to reconcile. If you're loud, it's supposed to be because you're uneducated, right? You're boastful, you're not. But what about when you're refined? What about when you went to Stanford and you have the arguments and you can out-debate your detractors and you're loud and you're still not conforming to exactly the behavior that they're prescribing for you? I'm not talking about, is he an upstanding citizen? Is he a great teammate? Does he give back? All these kind of things. things. I'm talking about the level of humility you show. What if you do it your own way and you don't need anyone else to speak for you? So Richard Sherman, to me, the way he's bulletproof that way, I just love to watch him do it. He's got everyone at everything. He's the best.
Yeah, he does. And just a real quick look at their defense, what they did last weekend. They held Dalvin Cook, the number one rusher for the Minnesota Vikings, to 9 carries and 18 yards. They held the team to 10 rushes for 21 yards. I mean, they absolutely shut down the run from Minnesota last week. And as far as passing going through the air, nobody caught more than, actually it was Dalvin Cook. He had 6 catches for only 8 yards, and nobody caught for over 57 yards. So Richard Sherman is an intricate part of that defense that is absolutely shutting teams down. It's really out of control what they did. And me personally, I'm a defensive guy, so I'm thinking, defense wins championships. So they're very, very close to making that happen at this point. But again, Richard Sherman's a baller. He's outspoken, but he backs it up. So I don't know. Let's continue.
What he does, he went to Stanford, the distance travel between where he grew up and where he is now, the institution he went to, everything. A champion might be about to be a champion again, largely because of his contributions. What can you say? You just got to tip your cap.
You definitely have to tip your cap. And again, I can't emphasize enough how good this San Francisco 49er defense is. I mean, they absolutely mauled the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins did not know what hit him. Like I said, he got beat up. He got sacked 6 times. That is absolutely out of control. And to hold their team to only, 10 rushes for only 21 yards? That's out of control. Like I said, I think defense wins championships, and the Niners are well on their way. So let's continue.
I agree with that. Being an athlete, everybody wants to have a voice, but when we have a voice, then all the shots get thrown at us. Like we don't know what to talk about, or we shouldn't say certain things. But obviously, he feel like he was getting disrespected from the beginning, and I grew up watching him, so I can kind of agree with where he's coming from. But like I said, it's just, that's just the perception of it that we don't know.
I think the important point to peel from what he said was when he said, I'm just tired of it. Mm-hmm. What he's tired of, what was he talking about? He's tired of witnessing people extending themselves effort-wise to diminish and denigrate what this man has accomplished. Now, if you just minding your business and you don't have anything to say, all right, Richard Sherman ain't mad about that. Richard Sherman is disgusted because there are too many questions when there shouldn't be questions. And he knows it for a fact because other people who deserve those questions get bypassed while somebody who's performing at an elite level is scrutinized. That's where his disgust comes from, and he's